Hi everyone, it's Sue Plumb here to share another scrapbook process video with you. Today's layout that I'm sharing was created for Coco Vanilla Studio, and it's created for the regular Throwback Thursday feature that we have there. Now, the purpose of this Throwback Thursday feature is to inspire everyone to get digging into their stash. So a member of our design team will create something new and fresh with an older collection to hopefully get everyone inspired to get in and get rid of some of that stash that's sitting around, because that simply just makes room for more new stuff, doesn't it? So for this layout today, I'm actually working with the beautiful Sunkissed collection, which was released approximately a year ago. And it's a beautiful summer collection that's full of bright, vibrant colours. So it's right up my alley. Now, the photos that I'm actually going to be documenting for this layout are photos of my sons that I took one day when we had a colour run at school. They were actually fundraising for a new sports shed at school. So they had the kids participate in a colour run, and they did an obstacle course, and we had the local fire brigade there that were hosing the kids down and a giant slip and slide, and yeah, it was lots and lots of fun. So for this page, I decided to do a mixed media layout because you do know how much I love to get messy. So I started off with a sheet of white cardstock, which I cut down to measure 11 by 11 because it was my intention to mount it on some patterned paper for a border. And I'm actually working with acrylic paints today. Now, if you are not a regular mixed media person and you don't have access to a lot of mixed media supplies, acrylic paint is generally a great one to dip your toe in. People can usually readily access paints. You don't need fancy paints. You don't need expensive paints. In fact, the paints that I am working with here are nothing more than student grade acrylic paints. Now, what I love about acrylic paint is it's easy to work with. It comes in a great range of colours. It's generally very economical compared to some other mediums that you might see people using. And it's just lots and lots of fun to work with, really. So I used a very, very simple technique, which you can see I've already gone past in my video there, but I'll give you a quick run through. You can see that I use an ice cream container lid. That's my very fancy paint palette that I use for using my brayer. Now, my little rubber brayer, I think that's a Ranger one. You don't have to get a Ranger one. You don't have to use a brayer at all. You could do this with a brush. You could do this with your fingers. You could do it with whatever you like. But I used, for the purposes of this, I just used a brayer. Now, I was using 3 colours here, and I was inspired by the colours that featured very heavily in the paints that were all over my boys' shirts. So there was lots of pink, there was lots of yellow, there was lots of orange. So I decided to use a mix of pink, orange, and then a lighter orange. The 3 brands of paint I used a Montmartre, I used a Kaisercraft, and the other one I can't remember off the top of my head, but it was a very cheap student grade acrylic that I got from a local $2 shop. So as I said, you don't need anything fancy for this. And I just simply rolled some of the paints across the page there. You can see that I've graded the colour down from that pink at the top to the lighter orange at the bottom. I didn't care if these mixed together at all. I didn't wait for anything to dry before I moved on to the next colour. I didn't even wait for it to dry on my very fancy palette before I moved on to rolling the next colour on there either, because I was quite happy for a bit of blending to go on in the background here. So when it came to the paper component of this page, you can see already I have streaked ahead on this layout compared to where I am talking to you about. But you can see that the rainbow that I've got on the background there, that was actually part of a rainbow that I had left on a piece of paper from a previous project. So what I actually did is I wanted to stay focused on those warm tones. So I actually just fussy cut out the pieces that I had there. I had the yellow arc, I actually had a complete arc. The orange one sort of cut off slightly on the right hand side, and that was fine. And the pink one I had actually chopped into the top of it through my previous project. So I actually had the arc sort of running down the left-hand side there, and then there's a little piece that I haven't actually put on here because I forgot to put it on at this stage, that goes up in the right-hand corner there as well. So I just had the pink, orange, and yellow, very similar to the colours of the paints that I had used on the background. With my photos, I just wanted to create a simple photo mat there, just lots of layers, lots of colours, interesting textures through the use of tearing, and you can see I'm actually constructing that now. A lot of those pieces were scraps that I had because, as I said, for Throwback Thursday, one of the purposes of this feature is to inspire you to use up some of your stash, and a lot of times that is scraps. So I was trying to use up some of the scraps that I had of this collection. So I actually had that sweet little love heart printed paper that I had as my large sort of anchor piece for these layers. I had that small piece of paper with the cloud print on it, which was actually from the 6x8 paper stack, and I didn't have a complete piece of that, so I actually tore it in half and then put that other extra strip over the top of it just to make that a piece appear a little bit larger than it was. So as I said, I was working with warm tones, but I did stick that blue piece in there deliberately to break up the warm tones somewhat and just to tie in with the blue sky that was in the photos there and just to provide an extra little bit of contrast. So I also had that small paper yellow doily from my stash. I'm also adding in some frayed gauze for texture. And you can see that I'm just adding my two photos there, sort of slightly off center, one to the left, one to the right. I deliberately put that one that's on the bottom at the bottom because I accidentally chopped into my son's head when I took that photo of him. Not that it matters. I'm not ever worried about things like that. I've also added some scrap cardboard on the back of those photos, and I'm using a liquid adhesive. That's my favourite Helmer 450 liquid adhesive, just to stick the photos down over the top of that gauze. Now, the purpose of using that little bit of scrap cardboard behind your photos is it just helps bring your photos up that extra layer from your background, and it really helps them pop against your page. And it's something that I do on pretty much every layout, I have to say. Every order that I get, everything that gets delivered here in cardboard boxes, when I get them, once I've unpacked them, I cut them up into small pieces. I keep them in a big Ziploc bag, so I've got bits cut up just ready to go when I need them. So as I said, I've got that sort of ombre coloured strip that was running horizontally across my page there. And you can see that I've actually placed it behind my son's eye line because that is one of the focal points on the page. The other reason I've placed it there is to create an anchor point for me to put my page title on there. Now, it was a little bit of a play on words with this one because we were doing a colour run. I put the title as Colour Fun. We had those beautiful glittered foam title words in this collection, and one of the words in there was fun, and I thought that would be a good play on words. Those alpha stickers that I am using there are actually Cocoa Vanilla Studio alpha stickers. They came out, I think, with the Love Always collection, which was a few years ago, and I recently found that I had some extra ones of those in my stash, so I thought I would use those up. I also like the way that the white lettering pops off against those colours too, and just helps draw attention into it. Now you can see that I've put a butterfly on my page there. That butterfly I had die cut using a metal die quite a while ago for a previous project, and I didn't end up using it, so I actually just popped it back in with my Sunkissed collection supplies, and I found that and I thought, well, I may as well use it. You know how much I love butterflies. So I'm actually going through and adding some embellishments now. I am using the die cut ephemera pack, which has got a lot of summer themed embellishments in it, but there's also a lot of fun little icons there that I thought would work well. I was really just basing my choice of embellishments on colour at this point. You can see that I've added that watermelon slice just to help underline that word fun. I've got that little umbrella tucked in at the top there. And I'm also just digging through on the puffy sticker sheet because I had quite a few puffy stickers left on this sheet. And I'm just adding in some little puffy hearts. I've also added a little puffy flower on top of the butterfly, like where its body would be. I added on a couple of phrase stickers from the accessory sticker sheet. And as I said, it was all about like using things up to the best of my ability. So that's what I did. Now, I also added some black splatters at the end there, because when I was looking at my page and I was looking at those really dark glasses of my son's, there wasn't enough darkness to tie into that. So I actually, yes, used some ink and a very small brush just to add some black splatters at the end. And that was it for this page. You will see me put the splatters on now. That was it for this page. So I've got some photos coming up, and I will have a matching Project Life page to share for this in the Cocoa Vanilla Studio community group as well in a week's time. Thanks so much for watching today. If you have any questions, put them below. If you want to see more of my videos, hit the subscribe button, and thanks so much for watching. I'll see you next time. Bye.